I ever got pregnant with Delilah, I had some fears about pregnancy and about my body and that kind of thing in general, and I think that a lot of us do. However, I would share these fears with women in my life, whether they were older than me or whether they were younger than me, that kind of thing, and I was often kind of like either just passed off or made to feel a little bit guilty for having these fears, honestly. So I wanted you guys to know the fears that I had and that they are legitimate fears and it's okay to have them. Make sure that they are not like all consuming, but it's okay to question these things, to wonder about these things, and to kind of like seek answers before you get pregnant. These were my fears either like during conception or pregnancy, that kind of thing. So if you had any of those things, feel free to leave those down in the comments below as well. The first one was that I would not be able to get pregnant. And I think that this is a real like legitimate fear. I know at least a handful of women who have had some difficulty, and I have known another handful who have had pretty major difficulty in getting pregnant. And I'm not sure if this has anything to do with just like modern society, that kind of thing, or if it's just something that we talk about more and like try to problem solve more, and that's why we hear about it more. But I do know a lot of these women. I'm also in a lot of like mom and parenting Facebook groups, and I think that seeing a lot of these women who have struggled to get pregnant, it kind of made me question like, am I gonna have to go down this route? I did know from a very young age that I have PCOS, and I know that it affects a lot of women differently. I, thank goodness, do not have the insulin resistant PCOS, so essentially my body almost has like a mock PCOS. Like I have a lot of the symptoms, and I can share that in another video, like what the differences are. My hormones are not out of whack in a way that affects my menstrual cycle or that affects my ability to ovulate, thankfully. So I didn't know if that would change. I didn't know if my PCOS would affect my fertility. I think it might have a little bit as I got older. It took us like, I wanna say like 7 months to conceive Harrison, and I was 29 at that time. Delilah happened just really quickly. I had that question, I had that fear, like would I be able to get pregnant? My next fear was that I was terrified of morning sickness. I am someone that like, even when I think I have the flu, I panic. I hate vomiting. I hate throwing up. I hate the whole everything about it. And thankfully with both of my pregnancies, I had morning sickness at points in it, but it was mostly mild. Harrison's was probably more than Delilah's. With her, I had like one day, maybe it might have been like a few days. It's been like 10 years, so it's hard to remember. But I had like a day, maybe just a few days where I was nauseous and throwing up. With Harrison, it was for my first full trimester, and it was pretty violent. That was not fun, but I was able to get relief with some things. I was mostly afraid of the morning sickness where you do not get relief. That is kind of what I envisioned happening. This is the inner workings of an anxious brain, by the way. I like go to the worst case scenario and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's gonna happen to me. Oh my gosh. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad and I was able to get relief. But like I said, maybe it's just the information that we're provided. Maybe we have too much information now, but I have seen so many women in my life who have struggled with morning sickness, like struggled, and I feel so bad for them. And it seems like, and I don't know, I'm probably jumping to conclusions here, but it seems like the older that my friend group and I get, the more morning sickness that we have. If that's a thing, comment down below. If I'm just like making that up, also comment that down below. It was something I was really afraid of, because when I vomit or throw up, like this is totally TMI, I apologize, but you're watching like a pregnancy fears video. Like what do you want, you guys? I was afraid of like everything that also comes with it, like the tiredness, the grogginess, and all of those things, just not being able to function for months. Like I could not fathom that. I have always been a working person. I could not fathom that. And I think that is a legitimate fear. And I think a lot of us women have that fear going into pregnancy, that morning sickness is going to hit us hard and it's gonna like really impact our lives. So I am sending hugs to all of those moms who do struggle with morning sickness. I actually have a good friend that I used to work with, and I see her Facebook posts and she struggles so hard with not just morning sickness, but it's HG is the initials. I like hyperemesis gavardium, I think is how you say it. I might be mispronouncing that, but she struggles so hard with that. And every time I see a post that shows her struggling, I feel my heart goes out to her. And I think that is like the worst case scenario and like the fear that we all have. So just know that that is a fear that everybody pretty much has, and you're not alone in that. So before I got pregnant, I was afraid of not getting a good night's sleep. And this was during pregnancy and after pregnancy. I am someone who always told myself that I need a solid 8 hours of sleep. The things you tell yourself before you have kids. Hashtag mom life. But you know what, you guys, you just kind of adapt. And when you're pregnant, you sleep when you sleep. Like, you're getting a good amount of sleep because your body is just so fatigued from being pregnant. At least mine was. And I know a lot of women get really fatigued during pregnancy at different points. But your body will sleep when it needs to. And then when you first bring your baby home, you are so just on this like love, oxytocin, almost high, I wanna say, that you don't even notice the lack of sleep until I would say it's like the 3 to 5 month mark. Like, that's when I started to notice the lack of sleep. And then I was like, okay, we have got to do something. And then you figure something out and then it's fine. If your kiddo is not a good sleeper, you just roll with the punches. It's not like you're gonna be like, okay, pack your bags, you're not a good sleeper, peace. Like, that's not what happens at all. You just do what you need to do. And it is something that I can't really explain to you unless you've had kids. You can't fathom like all of these things that you will do for your child and that you're preparing to do until you actually do them. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I always said, I am gonna be this kind of mom, I'm gonna do these things, and then none of that worked out. So if your kid is not a great sleeper, you work with them, you figure it out, you eventually get to sleep. Harrison is 3 and he is now sleeping in his own bed, which is phenomenal. I keep telling Brian that it feels like a vacation when we're in our own bed just by ourselves with no children in it. But you will figure it out. It will work out and they will grow. So really just enjoy this time with them. And I know that it's hard to enjoy it when you are running on such little sleep, but just enjoy it. Like, it goes by way too fast, honestly. Like, the whole pregnancy and baby part, like, just goes by way too fast. And I love babies. I love them so much, but I know how much hard work it can be, and I think that's a legitimate fear that we all have. My next fear that I had going into pregnancy is I was honestly afraid of what would happen to my career. And I know that this might be like a working mom only thing, but today's society, like, there's so many more opportunities for women to work and be independent and that kind of thing, but I feel like we are also still expected to take up the majority of the childcare, the majority of the housework, and the majority of like feeding our family. And then society kind of expects us to do it all if we are going to choose to work and have a career. At least that's just like my little take on it. If you think something different, feel free to leave it down in the comments below as a respectful comment. I'm happy to have a discussion with anybody who thinks differently, as long as you're respectful and kind. I was afraid that I would not be able to balance everything. It's a lot. Like, to work a full-time job, to be a mom, to be the primary care provider, and to do all of the other things, it's a lot. But I think that once you get yourself into a rhythm, and if you have a really good supportive partner like I do, they will help you in the way that they can. Like, give them things to do that maybe are not your strength, or ask them to take the kids and just do one-on-one time when they are available. Thankfully for me, I am able to work from home. This is such a blessing. I am such an introvert. Like, it might not seem like that on camera, but I am such an introvert that going to work and being face-to-face with people was exhausting, and then coming home and having to give more to my family was extra exhausting. So working in a work from home environment is phenomenal. I love it so, so much. It also gives me the flexibility to be kind of a homemaker. I'm able to do chores on my lunch break. I'm able to pop out really quick and like attend Delilah's piano recital if that's what she has going on. I'm able to work and have a career and be a mom. So if there's any options in your career field for working at home, or that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely check that out before you get pregnant. Explore all of your options for your career. If you're in a job that you just absolutely love, you work full-time, you will make it work. If I would not have been able to find something that worked and was great for our family, like work from home, I would have just made it work. Honestly, I would have just kept going with my career. I would have just, I don't know, I would have been exhausted for probably 10 years, but I would have just made it work. And I think that that is the fear. Like, what will happen to my career? Will I have to choose my career or my kids? Will I be able to do it all? Am I that strong? But let me just tell you, when you're a mom, you find some strength inside of yourself that you never thought that you would have. You find some patience inside of yourself that you never thought that you could find. And it's just incredible, like, what you can do when you're a parent. It's like you almost have these instincts instincts to balance things out. So it'll be okay, but it is a legitimate fear that I think a lot of parents have, especially working parents. So my next fear was that I was really afraid of what would happen to my mental health and what would happen with hormones. So I'm someone that has always been like a anxious person. Sometimes that anxiety can lead to some depression, not like major. And depression for me manifests just in a way that like I'm really unmotivated. I will not take care of myself as well as I normally would. Like I eat junk food basically. So it's not like major depression where I'm laying in my bed crying all the time, that kind of thing. That's not something I've ever experienced. And the closest thing that I did ever come to that was when I had late onset postpartum depression with Delilah's pregnancy. Everything was fine, or at least I thought it was fine. I told myself that it was fine until she was about 9 months old. And then my mental health just went to crap. I would say that I withdrew from her. I withdrew from a lot of people, and it makes me emotional talking about this because I feel like this is like my biggest failure as a mom, but it was something that was outside of my control. But it was a big fear that I had before going into pregnancy because I did have some mental health things that I struggle with, and I thought that I was like kind of predisposed to these things. It is a fear, and it's a legitimate fear, and I think that a lot of women go through postpartum struggles. So whether it's postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety, or even just something as simple as the baby blues, your hormones will shift and change, and if you plan to breastfeed, they will shift and change even more as you continue to breastfeed and then when you're weaning. And it's just something that happens, and as long as you are aware of it, as long as you're aware of your risk factors for it, and as long as you're not afraid to ask for help and support, you are going to be okay. And maybe it will happen to you, but you will learn so much about yourself and so much about your strength as a person and as a mother through that. It is something to be nervous about, but it is also something that you can conquer. So just know that from someone who has come out on the other side. And whew, this one is tough. So my next fear was, what if something goes wrong? And 1 in 4 women experiences infant or pregnancy loss. And when I was first trying to have a baby, I was afraid. I was afraid of how I would handle that, what would happen, would I have to make a decision if my baby had some sort of issue in utero? I was afraid. It's a legitimate fear, and I think that pretty much every mother fears that something is going to go wrong. I am someone who has experienced pregnancy loss, and it is really hard. I've never, thankfully, had an infant loss, which my heart goes out to any of you mamas who have had infant loss or stillbirth. Whew. I'm so emotional right now, you guys. This is a hard one. But just know that you can only do so much to prevent things. Like you can take all of your vitamins, you can take care of your body, you can lower your stress level, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, if there is like a chromosomal abnormality and you're going to have an early loss, it's going to happen no matter what you try to do to prevent it. There's nothing that doctors can do in that early situation. If you are going to have an infant loss, there of course are more things that they can do to prevent and like look at those things, but at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. That we can't control everything, we can't control life. Life is really fragile, and I think that it's wise to be really cautious about these things and to know these things and to do everything that you can to prevent these things. But at the end of the day, just know that if something like that were to happen to you, that you're gonna learn something from that, and that is just the journey that you are meant to have. I don't know how to put it any other way than that. It's really hard to go through pregnancy loss. Worrying about it and stressing yourself out about like all of the what ifs is probably the worst thing that you can do. So try to take all of the stress out of your life that you can. It's, again, you know, put all the good things into your body that you can, and just know that you are doing everything that you can to protect that little baby. And then the last fear that I had about pregnancy was looking like a house and all of the changes that my body was going to go through. And this might sound kind of vain, but it's not like the actual body changes. Clearly, I know that you get a belly and like your boobs change and that kind of thing. But what I was more afraid of was like being puffy from head to toe. I am someone who literally is pregnant from head to toe. So my fear was kind of legitimate because it happened to me. You know what? Like, you're pregnant, and if you are taking care of your body and doing everything that you can, like, that's just what your body does. Like, some people have these really cute little basketball pregnant bellies, and other people's bodies change, like their hips get really wide or their legs swell, or some people I've seen their noses will spread when they're pregnant, or their hands and feet will grow. It's just kind of crazy all the things that your body can do. But maybe just like spin your thinking about that instead of being afraid of it, being like, oh my gosh, what cool thing is going to change on my body when I'm pregnant? Like, just kind of spin your thinking. Know, like, maybe your family history, ask your mom what happened to her body when she was pregnant, that kind of thing. So those are all of the fears that I had when I was like trying to conceive and before I got pregnant. If you had any fears, feel free to let me know those down in the comments below. I would love to just like open up this dialogue, because I know that, again, a lot of women like get brushed off, especially I feel like by older women or by other mothers, for having fears about pregnancy, infants, parenting, that kind of thing. I feel like it's just not talked about, and it's okay to be nervous about things as long as you use that energy to be productive and not just like sit in nervousness and fear, because that won't do you any good really. But make sure you leave those down in the comments below. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up for me. If you are new here, hey, my name is Caitlin. This is Beans and Monkeys, and I do all kinds of things on this channel. I do a lot of like organization and productivity and then some planning on the side. I also do some mom stuff, some budgeting stuff. It's just kind of a fun little community over here, and I just like to share sort of my heart and my life with you guys. So make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up, and if you are new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. If you are one of my current subscribers and you are subscribed and you want to know every single time I post a video, hit that bell notification. I read somewhere that YouTube is only showing like highlights in the subscription boxes. It's not showing you every single video. So if you want to know when everything is coming out and you want to know every time I upload, hit that bell notification, and then you will know every single time I post. And then I just wanted to give a really big thank you to all of my current subscribers. I do this every video because you guys mean the world to me. You are my internet friends. I have just absolutely adored connecting with you and getting all of your support. So thank you so much for all that you do. And I just want to reach through the camera and give you guys a big internet hug. So thank you for being here. And if you want to find me on other social sites, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And by the way, you guys, have fun today.